Hi, I'm really lucky during this lockdown because I've got my dog, so every day I'm out walking my dog. While I'm been out walking the dog, I've been looking at all the plants and how they're changing as the seasons change, as spring comes and we're going to gradually move into summer. And I thought I'd do a little video, which I hope you find interesting, looking at some of the plants that you can see, the plants and trees that you can see, and linking it into our learning in school, because it does all link into our science at school. So I'm going to show you some plants. I'm going to talk about whether they're wind pollinated or insect pollinated, that sort of thing, which we've done with year 8. Look at the different flowers, which is part of your national curriculum learning, knowing all the different plants and identifying leaves and that sort of thing. So let us have a little look. So I've not gone anywhere special. I'm just by Clipston Brook here, quite near to the school. Some of you, well, a lot of you will have probably walked down here. There's my dog Murphy waiting for me, wondering what on earth I'm doing. And let's start looking at some of these plants. Right, so I want to start with this one, which is called a dead nettle. This one is a white dead nettle because it has white flowers. It's not dead, obviously, but it's called a dead nettle because it won't sting you. I can touch the leaves quite happily and it won't sting me. It has these white flowers, which shows you it's a dead nettle. Here we've got a stinging nettle, which I'm not going to touch, which doesn't have those white flowers. Now the dead nettle, the flowers are going to be insect pollinated. It has made those flowers specifically to attract insects to come and transfer the pollen from one plant to another plant to get that cross pollination. And the stinging nettle, you may not have noticed stinging nettle flowers. Let me come over here. There is a stinging nettle in flower over here. And here we go. These are the flowers of the stinging nettle. Very different, aren't they? They're green, they're not pretty, they're not trying to attract insects. And this is because the stinging nettle is wind pollinated. So it just has these little green flowers that the wind can blow the pollen from one flower to another. So quite different. Dead nettles won't sting you, the white ones with white flowers. There is a red dead nettle. It doesn't have red flowers, it has purpley flowers. If we see any, I will show you those. But that's the differences you can see between the stinging and the dead nettle. Not just that they will sting you and one won't, but the difference in the flower structure and the pollination. So here is another plant. There's a lot of this about at the moment. This is called cow parsley. Lovely little tiny white flowers. There's lots of it about. Ferny leaves, look a little bit like ferns, the leaves. And these are in flower at the moment. The flowers will last a few weeks and then you won't see these flowers anymore. And this one actually is starting to develop seeds already. Let's go in, see if I can go in close and see this one. Can you see the flowers are finished and the seeds are starting to develop there? And those seed pods will go brown as the seeds ripen, and then they will disperse those seeds by springing open and firing the seeds around the area. So cow parsley, you've seen a lot of it around, I'm sure. There's some more seeds growing, but did you know what it was called? And the fern-like leaves. Okay, this tree is called an elder. Native to this country, been growing in this country for a very long time. It has got the flower buds coming. These will gradually open up and turn into little white elderflowers, bunches of lots and lots of white flowers, and eventually as the year goes on those flowers will develop into purpley berries, elderberries. You can see the leaf structure. The leaves grow opposite each other along the stem and then one leaf at the end. So that's how you identify an elder. If you cut these stems open, they are hollow. And soon we will see these beautiful white elder flowers going into the elderberries, which the birds love. And the birds will eat them and then it will turn all the bird poop purple. Right, this tree here is a hazel. Later in the season it will have nuts on it, which the squirrels love, and they're very tasty if you can get hold of some of them before the squirrels do. Very different shaped leaf to the elder. Single leaves, with this rounded shape with the point at the end. You can see the veins of the leaf. Earlier in the year this will have had the catkins, and I actually, if you were in my science class, I brought some of the catkins in to show you. The long dangly like little lamb's tails, and that's because this one is also wind pollinated, so it has the long catkins that dangle in the wind to blow the pollen off and transfer it to the female part. On this tree, the female and male parts are actually completely separate. So you have the catkins that are the male with the pollen, and then the female is a little red spiky bit which is on the stem to catch the pollen. They've finished now, they've all gone, so I can't show you those, but we will have some nuts developing. Centre of the picture you might be able to see the remains there of a fertilized flower, and that will develop into a nut. If I pan down, we've got more of our cow parsley, which you should be able to recognize now. You should all be able to say, oh, that's cow parsley. And then down here we've got some more of our white dead nettle, and hiding amongst them we've got some stinging nettles as well. So okay, here we've got willow, a willow tree. See the different shaped leaves again, very, very distinctive, the willow leaves. Long, narrow, slender leaves, and the remains of the flowers. So again, these were wind pollinated flowers, and there's the remains of them there. So they weren't brightly coloured to attract insects, they were just long and dangling in the wind for the pollen to be dispersed in the wind. If we come along here, lots more cow parsley. We've got some, I don't know if you can see, if I can zoom in a bit, we've got some ducks here, 4 male mallard ducks. They're having a look because my dog is having a little look at them. So there's your mallard ducks. Right, let's go back to plants. Let's have a look at this. This is one you will be familiar with. This is your sticky weed or goosegrass, and it's sticky so that the seeds will get dispersed. It will have later in the season, here's some more of it, it will have little balls of seeds, and they will stick to your clothes or to any animal's fur, and that's how they will get dispersed. So again, we've still got our cow parsley you should be familiar with now. We've still got some stinging nettles down there, lots of this sticky weed, and in the behind there we've got another hazel tree. You should be able to recognise the hazel branches now, the hazel leaves. Right, I want to show you this. This is dock. These are dock leaves, which is what they say if you rub them on a nettle sting, is supposed to help your nettle sting. Now the way to identify dock leaves, because there are horseradish plants around here and people often get them mixed up, dock leaves will always have a little bit of red on them. If the leaves are damaged anywhere like this, something's had a little nibble, you will get red around it. You will often have a little bit of red along the stems, so that's how you recognise dock. These are the stems from last year which died back, and now it's growing new fresh leaves. So these are dock leaves, and I will show you the horseradish in a moment so that you can tell them apart.